Well, good evening, everybody. Great pleasure to have Jack61 alongside us for this evening. Sorry, I say this evening, obviously for yourself, Jack. I think is it late afternoon?
Mid afternoon, yeah. It's
Mid afternoon, yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it's 4:20.
Well, as I say, thanks very much for joining us. We were just talking just a little bit backstage in the brief time that we had, and if you could just expand a little bit on what you were talking about, and I can just shut up and let you do the talking, because I'll tell you what, people would rather listen to the guest than listen to me.
I don't know about that, but as I was telling you, Paul,
Yeah.
I got my start. I binge watched the series the day after. I watched it on December 19th. That was the day after it premiered, and then
Yeah.
within my son told me, he says, "Well, have you been on Reddit?" I was a Reddit. I wasn't like crazy on Reddit, but and
Sure.
I really didn't advocate for anything. I just read. I was a
Yeah.
lurker. But then, of course, I said, he said, "Have you seen this sub, Making a Murder?" I'm like, "Well, no, not really." He said, "Check it out." So I did. And of course, by then, I mean, there was, a few thousand people, and then it just blew up. It just absolutely went bananas. And my interest really grew from there. Of course, we did the crowdsourcing that Skip Top organized.
Yeah.
We got the first documents that he secured the website, got those published, and then we continued to get more. We had actually had a second part where we got more documentation, photographs and some of the Brendan stuff, and then of course other people began to get their own FOIAs approved and get things. And so, that's kind of really where my interest is in the research. We talked a little bit about Eric Cozy. I think I first became aware of Eric Cozy probably, I'm going to say mid 2016, maybe
Yeah.
May, June timeframe.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, I didn't know it for years. I really didn't know for years that he was really a shy person. He didn't,
Yeah.
you wouldn't, I mean, I guess you could go back now and look at it and say, yeah, you could kind of tell, but at the time I didn't know.
No.
So, and then from that, just moving forward, my little history of going through, continuing basically, I've had the good fortune of being, in close conversation with, some of the really, really good researchers, Rookie and Seeking Truth and Seven Pairs and Lacey and Manitowoc. I've been fortunate. And their goal is the same as ours. It's getting everything out on the table. The Ripper thing the other night, man, that was when he, literally, I'd watched it for a couple of hours and it was like 1:15 in the morning here.
Wow.
And all of a sudden he says, Jinx, send a message to Jack and, let's get a message to, Millbilly and Dr. Soapman. And I'm like, I'm fixing to go to bed, So I got everything back out and hooked it up and I jumped on and we had a really good time. It was a really good conversation.
I must admit, it's Ripper is he was the guy that inspired the dude. The dude inspired so many people. I'll just take you back though, because you were mentioning about freedom of information. I was taken in hook, line and sinker the other night with a chat about the wizard wanting 15 cents for a FOIA. and I get in touch with him and I say, so where's this link to this GoFundMe for your FOIA? And he says, seriously? I'm only wanting 15 cents. I said, yeah, but 15 cents per document. Is that right? You're wanting, are you serious?
Yeah.
And he goes, we've been laughing about that all day. So yeah.
I kind of got sucked into that thing, Paul. I saw a snip of something on Discord and I got on voice on chat with him. I'm like, dude, if you need money, just help out getting this. And he's like, wait, his voice, this is mad. This is mad. it's what the whole foy is like, just a few dollars, so it was pretty funny.
As I say, I feel like the state of Wisconsin. I was sold hook, line, and sinker, drawn in, and made a fool of.
Well, you never know, when you're dealing with, because I mean, I've dealt with them too, and it's I got to tell you, it's really almost unnerving, the level of arrogance that I've had to deal with, and I know others. I can tell you from personal experience, from what I know, some of these people. I mean, if you just line it up and looked at personal people that have spent their own money on Voyas, I can say without a doubt, Seeking Truth has spent a gob of money, of her own money, and just freely shared. She just got it and shared, and she doesn't really even want necessarily credit or anything. She probably would, I'm gonna say, shut up or something to me. But the thing is that the some of the things that have been this recent audio of Barb and Scott being recorded by DCI Wish and Dettering. How the hell? How did that come about that we didn't know that it was recorded and Rookie got it? It's crazy. So it's a different animal, I'll tell you.
It is indeed, yeah. What I was going to ask you was your thoughts on having been such a keen follower of the case. I suppose we should really discuss the last couple of weeks that seem to have everything seems to have exploded just in time for the keep talking till they're walking. But I mean, seriously, I mean, what a last couple of weeks. It's been absolutely mind blowing. The information that's coming out.
Yeah, it's kind of a mind bender if you think about it, Paul, because this Thomas guy, we don't really know him at all. He's a new player in town.
Yeah.
So to me, we first thought, and I kind of fell into this trap for a minute, but we first thought, man, if this isn't true, KZ's really putting her reputation on the line.
Yeah.
She's not. She's really not. But this is all on him. This is all on the guy that signed the affidavit and approached her and said, hey, he's the one that contacted her. So the onus is really on him. It is a really game changer. I'm really interested in this unidentified person.
Yes.
Another thing, and I wrote about this, it's coming up on probably since we really found out about it, and it's really bothered me. I actually made a tweet about it last night, is the spare tire cover. And anybody that knows me knows that I've bitched about this. I'm sorry. I've complained about this for forever, for years now. But basically, the spare tire cover. We know that when the RAB went to the Wisconsin Crime Lab, they took the cover off. They took latent palm prints off of that thing. Wow. Now, I don't think they compared them to anyone, the palm prints themselves. However, you think about that. So we fast forward, that was in November of 2005. We fast forward 7 months or whatever it was, 6 months, May 24th, 2006. All these things come back to the Wisconsin Crime Lab. Then all of a sudden, June 30th, 2006, Mr. Wiegert is turning in a spare tire cover for that RAB. There's no record of him signing it out or report of why he had it. Now we had this report from Thomas Sawinski that him and Bobby Dassey and some unknown person is pushing this damn car. Mm-hmm. That spare tire cover really becomes really more important to me. Again, what was Wiegert doing with it? Why would he have that thing at all? So, we get besides that, that's a side story. But if it is true, this destroys the case. Mm-hmm. It destroys the case. Period. There's just everything about it. So I don't know what you think about it, but
Well,
that's my opinion.
I'm interested that you're sort of saying that this spare tire cover is something that you focused in on. I think that's one of the great things about this, the diversity of everybody involved in looking at this case is, everybody's got their own different aspect of it that they look at. I suppose the dude was one of his big bugbears was the control question.
Sure.
The false confession of Brendan Dassey.
Yep.
Everybody's got their own different angle. You've got some people that are looking at, was it one RAV4? Was it two RAV4s? Was there this duplicate car? Other people are looking at the fact, is Teresa really dead? We just don't know, do we?
No.
I'm not going to. I don't know about you, but I'm not going to sort of hold my hand up and say, yeah, that's definitely the case. That's definitely the case. There's so much of this that we don't know, but
Well,
I think Kathleen Zellner is doing an amazing job and selling the state that dummy and making them look bad.
well, a lot of it, if you look at it, Paul, she's people think that, and I guess that it can be come off the way it has. She's really focused on Bobby, and she's done it for a while, but the real intent is to create Denny suspects and
Yes.
to understand Denny, these alternate suspects, but the police just they just ignored it.
Yeah,
they just ignored it. So I think in her defense of her client, which is Stephen Avery. I think that she's just a fantastic lawyer. I've seen her in other cases, and she does her homework. She knows what she's talking about, and knowing the case, she can cite things that because she's committed it to memory. She understands what's been reported. It's so key. Besides the spare tire cover, we have so many other. I mean, I brought that up because of Sawinski saying two guys are pushing this car down the road.
Yeah.
So if their hands were on that spare tire cover.
Yeah.
And I always suspected, we have A23 that was on the cargo door.
Uh-huh.
That A23 spot was not visible in the Pam Stern picture. But when he got to the crime lab, it was visible.
Yep.
What happened? There are clear palm prints and possibly even fingerprints. But I always kind of suspected that possibly, given that there's blood on these blood spatter on the inside of the cargo door, that there might be something on that spare tire cover. I don't know that. It's speculation, but
well, I think that's it's not beyond the realms of possibility, is it?
No, not at all. No, it's not.
And that's. I'd just like to take you back though to you were saying that when you first watched the documentary, you were more interested in looking at the documents and the information rather than coming on a live chat. And I would be interested to know what sort of caused this sort of gradual change, because it's something that the dude was very keen on. Is the more people that are talking about the case, it just increases the awareness. So, I mean, I'm absolutely delighted that you've come on and had a chat with me. I think I'm right in saying that you're quite a prominent member of Foul Play.
I am a very prominent. As I say, I'm a prominent member. Where we work as a team. Yeah. A lot of I mean, they're all great people, and good to work with. All reasonable adults that even if we disagree, we don't get mad and have a pitch a fit and all that. We talk about it, and you just agree to disagree. It's like you brought up a second ago. I'll digest here a little bit. You talked about one RAV or two RAVs. Some people believe there's one. Some people. I'm a one RAV guy, but again, I'm open enough to say if you show me something that's going to lead me for sure that there's a second RAV, I'll go with it.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Teresa being dead or being alive.
Mm-hmm.
My opinion is she's dead, but my also opinion is that what they presented in court is not enough to say that she actually is dead.
Yes.
They failed their task. So, I guess, I wanted to understand knowing the documentary was biased, what I took away from the documentary was the lack of due process for the guys. They really, really screwed Brendan over. I was really, really angry about Brendan's case. I've got children his age, Paul, and I was really upset about that.
Yeah.
I think due process really just it was not even a consideration for them. And then, after we got the trial documents, the motions, lab reports, I wanted to understand it in my mind and not just necessarily take the documentary's word for it, because it was biased. I got that. I didn't walk away thinking Steve Avery was the greatest guy under the sun. I don't think he is. I think he can be a jerk. I think he can be terrible in the way he acts, but that's separate issue. I don't think he's necessarily, that makes him a murderer at all.
Yeah. Sorry, I was going to say, no, I think even since he's been in prison, he's, bless him, he's a very simple person. There's no there's no graces about Steve. From what Mark tells me about him, he is just this simple guy. Yeah, he loves his family, he loves his mum and dad. I just don't see him as being this cold-hearted killer. No. I mean, even a simple fellow, we can personify him as this junkyard fellow that doesn't worry about the fact that he's been interviewed on the 3rd of January by a TV crew. He doesn't care. He's tatty jeans, oily shirt. He doesn't care. It's not about trying to project a certain image. He's not about that.
That's exactly right. And you think about that exact time frame. Link and I think Remaker showed up at his place and they wanted to walk through his trailer. He's like, "Go ahead, go down there and go walk through it." He didn't. He just, that tells you right there.
Yeah.
Nothing happened in that trailer. Nothing. Yeah. So, yeah, I agree. He's unsophisticated. He's just a regular guy that, you do something that crosses him up. He doesn't necessarily think it through at first. He does later, and he reacts sometimes badly. I get that. Again, with making a murderer, I do think it was a real catalyst for so many people that were so fed up with the system. I had no idea how bad it was, Paul. I had no idea. And I live here. I was interested in true crime, but I had no idea the level and the depths of how badly the system has been twisted.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
I mean, bless him. Steve's a simple fella. What about his sister? I really worry about Barb and her capacity to cope with what's going on. I felt really sad for her when she talks about the fact that in the first wrongful conviction, she says they took away my brother, and now they've taken away my brother and my youngest son, and I do worry about Barb and how she's going to cope with everything that's going on, particularly at the moment with the finger being pointed at Bobby so much. Any thoughts on Barb?
I think that she's, I don't want to offend anyone because it's easy for me to sit here and judge, and I don't want to do that, and I don't want to come across that way because it would be wrong. I will say this: I think in many ways, Barb, she wanted to live her life, and she did, and I'm not faulting that. I also think, Paul, that Barb was put in situations where it really didn't matter what she did; she was screwed.
Yeah.
Any decision she made was bad.
Yep.
It was bad, no matter which way she turned. I also think, actually, I'm not really going to talk too much about it. Brendan's calls, I've listened to many of them. I've listened to well over 200 of them. I don't know if you have or not, the Brendan jail calls.
Yeah.
But I can tell you for a fact, Barb was Brendan's lifeline.
Yeah.
Absolutely his lifeline to the world. That kid was so lost out in the woods. His friends so-called friends, I will openly say this, treated him like garbage. It was terrible. I was absolutely disgusted with the way he was treated by some of his friends. But I think for Barb, that she was not always. She made some bad decisions. There's no doubt. What human doesn't? What of us here can sit here and say on our high horse and say we haven't made a bad? I'll be 60 here in a few months, and I can tell you for a fact, in that 60 years, I don't know about you, Paul, I've made a bunch of bad decisions in my life. Yeah, I've made a bunch of good ones too, but I think for her that in many of these situations we judge, she did make some bad decisions, but I think that no matter what she did, it was going to be a bad one anyway. I think that it's better to reach out a hand if there's whatever issues are going on with her, is to reach out a hand than a slap across the face. That's the human side of me. I'm angry Brendan's where he's at.
Yeah.
But I can't entirely, I really blame the state for that. I can't really blame her for that. Not entirely. I can't. So that's kind of my feeling with Bob.
Yeah. I must admit, it's one of those interesting things you say about the bad decisions. I was chatting with this friend of mine, Dr. Cliff Sharp, that I had a chat about recently about the P300 murmur that's part of this brain fingerprinting. And it was, me and Cliff, we go back a long time. I used to teach the kids when they were younger. And it was something he said to me, as we make bad decisions, but when it was me making a bad decision and him making a bad decision, and the police sort of caught up with you, it was like, don't do that. You're well-to-do people, don't do this. But when you're Steve Averys of the world, and you get the police on you, then they're going to come down on you like a ton of bricks. And I can only imagine the sort of pressures they put on Barb, because was it not something along the lines of, well, it's either Steve or the yard, or was it your family or the yard?
Yeah,
that's right. What was that exact expression that we get used? I can't remember. I'm sure there's people in the chat that will be able to.
Probably I can't remember her
come up with wording, it. Yeah.
But there were several of these situations. You think about the Fox Hill situation. And how screwed up that was. To me, that was a custodial interview. They can argue all they want, but if Barb's being truthful, she was told she'd be arrested if she left.
Yeah,
that's custodial. Period. And
exactly.
When you have a custodial situation, it shouldn't be in a hotel room unless you're setting up some kind of sting operation. In my opinion.
Yeah.
So many aspects of the case, though. It's another thing they did. And again, this is something that really came out in one of the Brendan calls, and I will chat about this for a second.
Sure, please.
They lied to the family. They lied to Barb. They lied to the family and told them that Brendan was doing drugs. They tested his blood, and he was on crack or meth or whatever it was. I don't remember the exact wording. They lied to it. And so they're like, went crazy, I guess. So Barb gets on the phone and she's talking to him, and Brendan's like, they didn't test my blood. What are you talking about? Yeah. That's the kind of stuff that they pulled on the family.
Yep.
And this is just what we got for, we're extracting this from a personal phone call. You can only imagine all the other things that we just do not know.
Yeah. I mean, for me, unfortunately for Bob, the bottom line is that we're finding out more and more about the fact that Bobby seems to have had something to do with the, at the very least, helping to frame Stephen. And early on in the proceedings, not just his testimony at trial, but if he's, as this Tom Sawinski says, pushing this car, but. Again, I've asked this of so many people. If he's there with a 60-year-old with a long beard, who's the perpetrator and who's the accomplice?
That's right. That's exactly right. That's why I'm saying I'm really interested in, hoping that
Yeah.
somebody's tipped off Kathleen to who this could possibly be, and she could do her own investigation.
Mm. I mean, I personally think that Kathleen is probably not just pages ahead of the States, but probably books ahead of them. And the rest of us.
I would agree with you, because she knows it's a chess game. She realizes that.
Yeah. It was interesting chatting with. Only had a half an hour with John Frack, and like his signal kept breaking up, but
yeah, I'll listen to that.
He knows the case, doesn't he? He knows this case.
Oh yeah, really like Frack. I read several of his books. He's really good.
Yeah.
No, that's really what we need on the boots on the ground. Somebody that is willing, and not like we had the trial feeders during the trial. That was awful. Those reporters, they were awful.
Yeah. I mean,
I want to say a few of those too, Paul. I want to say a few of them. My gosh.
I mean, if you're
Sorry, that's my 15-year-old cat. I apologize.
I thought that was Kaczynski.
Sometimes I think he is. I'm telling you, he just walks in such meowing. I don't know.
No, if your big one is the back, wheel cover. Mine has to be Mike Holbach, and not just Mike Holbach. It's the fact that when he says the grieving process could last for days,
yeah,
I can't understand why. None of the. I'm sorry. I'm going to shut up and let you explain if you can.
It was such an odd statement, and I grew up around more of I didn't really grow up in the city. I grew up in more of a rural area, and the fact is that there were families back, not many, but there were families around that they'd never really showed any outward emotion. I guess, as you say. If you were there, it didn't really happen. Not to say that it didn't happen in private. I just really don't know. I just know that you always had that. You always just felt like there was a front going on. That why aren't they upset? Why aren't they sad or whatever? And I kind of got that from the Hallbox in a way. It's just strange. It's just weird.
Yeah, I mean, it feeds. For me, this conspiracy theory that there wasn't a murder. It's one of the classic, exonerations of a wrongful conviction. The fact that the murder never took place in the first time. It's well documented. Going back to, I remember Saul Kassan sending me an email saying, this goes back to the 1800s. There was a famous case of somebody was about to be executed, and then the guy he was supposed to have murdered turns up.
Turns up alive. Yeah.
Yeah. It's. I don't know. I mean, do you see Wisconsin and I don't know about Manitowoc Sheriff's Department. On the one hand, you've got Sheriff Peterson talking about the assassination unit of his department, but then you're thinking this has got to go higher up. If this is the case, it'll have to go higher up the food chain than just Manitowoc Sheriff's Department.
Well, talking about the potential of Teresa being alive, it's just, I mean, for me, Paul, I'm not saying it didn't happen, because it could have.
It could have.
But it runs into a lot of issues because, I guess if somebody is a loner, they don't really have any network of family and friends, the disappearance of someone is much easier. And clearly, Teresa had a pretty extensive network of friends and family.
Yeah.
So that creates another problem. Number two, you got to have someone that wants to disappear.
Yeah.
Wants to get away from their actual real life and go somewhere and start again.
Yeah.
Of course, what we have from, what's been revealed to us through the journal and that we got that Mrs. Jinx got, and what little bit of other information we've gotten about Teresa, we don't really see indications of that. Again, this is only from what we've got.
Yeah.
That video. What do you think about the video she did? If I were to die today, to me,
Yeah.
that was such an odd thing.
It's to me that's a little bit like, we're older people, we're looking at youngsters. It's a little bit like Bobby Dassey looking at the porn on the computer. It was something that the dude said, I don't know how much emphasis I would put on him looking at these images. It could just be that, it doesn't necessarily mean to say that he's this sadistic killer. It just means that he was interested in this sort of porn. It's like Ali Apperson sent a message to me earlier today. Well, no, she commented on one of the videos saying, do you know what? It could just be that Barb wanted the computer cleared because she was fed up of going on the computer and up pops a message every time about a porn website. And she just wanted rid of that, We have to be careful, don't we? Because we don't want to be suffering the same sort of tunnel vision that
that's right.
that the police did, except yeah, exactly, and benefit of the doubt. Except that for me, it's clear that while some of the police, suffered from tunnel vision, involuntary or whatever wise, there's clearly some cops for whom it wasn't tunnel vision, that they were on a mission.
It certainly seems that way.
Yeah.
And people think, well, there had to be this vast conspiracy, and that's just not true.
No,
it's not. It would only take a couple to make the story that finally, was cobbled together by the state to work.
Yeah.
One of them, one of the key players, and agree or disagree, let's call Hain.
Yeah.
Key player, absolutely key player. She could have easily swapped labels on those swabs, taken out of the Grand Am, and substituted as coming from the RAV4. So therefore, now they've got fresh blood. They're not going to detect any EDTA. Bam, that's done. And she could have done that without even blinking hard. There were other, helping the case out. If let's just say the cops, let's just say that they're not really bad cops, but they think, man, we've got the guy, but we really don't have quite enough. Let's help the case out and drop a key into a bookcase and just suddenly find it. Oh, it's on the floor. The bullet. I have a real issue with the bullet too. As KZ's expert has detailed, it had wood chips in it and some probably red paint on it. Not blood, not any brain matter or bone. It's got wood in it. So there's serious issues all over this case. I just hope that that she can get back and get this remanded and get a hearing.
Yeah, I must admit this whole idea of all compasses point north, and one can only imagine the lower officers' disdain for Steve because he's trying to take down one of their former sheriffs, as in Tom Kasurek. You can only imagine.
And Vogel.
Yeah, exactly. I suppose another question that's always fascinated me is that, in 1985, wrongfully convicted, eventually found innocent, exonerated, as the result of a pubic hair. With your crystal ball, what do you think is going to be the pubic hair that's going to exonerate Steve this time round?
That's a good one.
There's so many, aren't there? Yeah.
Yeah,
well,
I have a couple
please share.
Yeah. A couple of ones that I think could definitely shed some light is A23, if it could ever be identified, which is on the cargo door.
Yep.
There's also, I'm sure you're aware of, stain A13A, which is a swab of the SD card found in the back. It had Teresa's name written on it in the back of the cargo area. That swab was ready for a DNA profile. They just never ran it. They just never ran it, and for whatever reason. There's also, I have real problems with the blood drops that are inside the RAV and the way that was all created. There was also blood under the seat of the back seat that was never tested. I don't know that would come into play, but it could. But I think that probably A23 is going to be another one. I'll mention is CX, Item CX. That was a blood stain, I believe, that was found in the quarry. That's unidentified.
Yep.
Gosh, Paul, Item FL. We talked about that one. I got real problems there. I guess those right there would be my biggest. There's probably others I'm not thinking about right now. But
well, I was going to say that this case is so bizarre. We've never had, as far as I know, in Wisconsin, a situation when evidence, as in Teresa's cremains, have been handed back in violation of a judge's order and in violation of a statute, and perpetrated by the person that wrote that statute.
Agreed.
It's like, how do you quantify how bad that was?
You really can't, and you got to kind of take this a step further. Think about this, Paul.
Yeah.
Who initiated contact in 2011? Did the Hallbox call Mr. Fallon and say, we've been thinking about it, talking about it. Is there any way we can get these cremains back? But I can tell you for a fact, they were told, as are all families, I'm sure, told, relatives, whatever, this material has to stay in evidence.
Yep.
In this murder trial. This is a murder case. This is a statute. I'm sure they were told. So all of a sudden, they give them back. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I don't want to ramble.
No. You carry on. I was only going to say, probably you're leading to that, but who asked whom?
Yep, that's right.
Sorry, you carry on.
Well, it's very important to know who asked whom.
Exactly.
You got Fallon, an assistant attorney general, right from the big office, and then you have Gahn, special prosecutor, Wiegert, Hawkins, gathering up and going over and pulling out these bones that were labeled as human, that their own expert labeled as human, handing back to the Hallbox. I've had these arguments with these guilters that say, well, they didn't really know what they were giving back. Are you kidding me? Are you freaking kidding me? They're going to hand back bones to this family and say that they're representing their daughter. They're going to take a chance and hand back a bunch of chicken bones and go for bones and what? I don't think so. I'm sorry, Paul. I don't think so at all.
No,
I don't believe that.
No, it's one of the things that Mark Hoddin has often said for many years now. He would love to see Karen Holbrook get on the witness stand and be asked the question: do you believe that what you were given back were Teresa's bones?
Right. Exactly.
That would be a very, 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 very interesting, question. Finally, though, I suppose the crunch of the matter is, and you must have known this was coming at some point, the crunch question.
Okay.
Go on, go for it.
No,
British or American? British or American?
I really that was such a the whole time watching you guys talk about that, it was so funny. I tell you, it's just a hook. I think I'll just pass on it, and maybe I don't really drink pop anymore, but maybe I'll open a Dr. Pepper and just say in spirit of you and Eric Jose.
It's such a daft thing, isn't it? But it's like, I was even sent a video by Cherie, the Eric Jose's aunt Cherie, and it was all about the fact that Captain Crunch was never even enlisted in the American Navy. He's a total imposter, He should have been arrested a long time ago. Thrown in prison. It's sorry, a little bit of uh, humour there, just for a few
Oh,
minutes.
absolutely.
Sorry, there is another question, obviously, that we need to ask and get your opinion on. And I know this is pure speculation with a crystal ball. How do you see this case going? Do you see the going back to Judge
Suckowitz.
Superwitch and
Yes, that'll work.
getting a hearing or what?
Um, that's tough because
Mm.
personally, I think that the state is going to pull out every stop to foil or try to foil
Mhm.
and roadblock everything they've already done it, but they're going to try to roadblock everything they can to stop a hearing from happening because I think they're smart enough to understand that if an evidentiary hearing is held,
Mhm.
they got real problems,
Yeah,
and Kathleen will
yeah,
she's going to pretty much destroy anyone they put up.
yeah.
What I do think from in the future, I think if not now, that it will come that she will get a hearing. There are other measures. I don't think it's going to be right away. I think we got some time. I do think that we talked about this the other night on Rippers because
Yeah.
TikTok had asked the question, how long do you think it's going to take for
Hmm.
them
Yeah.
to rule, on the stay and remand? I said 30 days, and that's based
Yep.
on what they did on the last one, right?
Hmm.
So I think, within 30 days or so, we're going to have some kind of notice of what they intend to do. Now, here's the real kicker, though. If they do, stay and remand it back to circuit court, what will Judge Angie do?
Mm.
What will she do faced with this ever mounting evidence? And she's got this
Yep.
witness now with an affidavit in her hand shaking it, saying, you
Mm.
need to dig, we need to look, because this guy said he called Manitowoc. They're saying, oh, nope, we don't have any record of it. Nope.
Yep.
Sorry. Well, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Paul. I say bullcrap to that.
Yeah. I'm of the opinion that well, part of me believes that Kathleen Zellner is enjoying sending it back to Judge Angie all these times because inevitably she's going to be proven to be a complete fraud as a judge in this case.
Oh yeah, I agree with you.
And it's partly to embarrass her. This latest filing by Kathleen Zellner, saying I want permission to respond. I mean, that's just being patronising to the state, isn't it? It's just
Oh,
it's just really taking the mick out of them. Um,
well,
it's
you look back, Paul.
yeah.
Judge Angie. She really, to me, she should have declined
Hmm.
any further having anything to do with the case because she's been involved in so many of the past things that
Yeah.
the civil suit. That's number one. She was also involved in Avery's pro se motion, and you know about the pro se motion about where he said he was surveilled. I mean, there were other things besides this,
Yeah.
but he said he was surveilled, and you know that story. I'm sure about that she assigned the investigators. The investigators basically hit a brick wall with queso, and then of course we found out later he was surveilled. They did have cameras in there. It's just a
Mhm.
farce. But she should have
Yeah.
walked away, in my opinion, and handed that case off to someone else.
Well, it's interesting that because we know for a fact that Paul Riley has had to deal severely with another Sheboygan judge recently over the fact that he was trying to pursue a case against an individual, and even the prosecution, even the district attorney, wasn't wanting to pursue it, but the judge somehow takes it upon themselves. The Sheboygan judge, they think they're not just the judge, but they're also the prosecution.
Wow.
It's just bizarre. It's well,
I don't think I've read about. I don't really think I know about that case.
yeah, there was a case of two ladies who had been involved in an argument, and Paul Riley it was that as an appeals court judge had to sort of step in and stop one of the other Sheboygan judges from wanting to. He was wanting to perpetuate this case against this, even when the prosecution had said, "Well, we're happy to drop it." But they just have this seemingly this huge sense of they've got the power, and they're just going to do what they want to do.
Wow.
Because Sheboygan is there's like five judges, isn't there? Sukovich is one of five, whereas like sort of Manitowoc, they've only got is it the 3 or 4? I mean,
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, if it was a case of moving it to a different judge, a different place, you're looking at the potential of it being Mark Roher. Surely not.
Oh no, he couldn't be involved. Well, I mean,
No.
guess he could. I guess he could, but he was deposed.
Yeah.
You wouldn't want him. I mean, to me, that guy was a deer in the headlights, caught so bad. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. No, I think it's a case of that Kathleen Zellner is enjoying the fact that she keeps sending it back to Angie Sukovich, and she has to keep trying to defend the indefensible. And she's struggling. She's going to struggle even more this time around. This could just be the straw that breaks the camel's back.
Well, you got the state coming up a few of their briefs ago, trying to defend giving back the bones as inexplicable. Mm-hmm. Are you kidding me? Inexplicable, as they can't explain what they did. Yeah, of course they can.
Yeah,
it's such it's maddening. It really is maddening. But I think that I don't know exactly how that process works. Where I know that Zellner, she requested another judge, but as I understand it from the lawyers on the case, Travis and Tracy Strunsey, they've explained that once the appeals part starts, short of a judge getting sick or dying, it can't be reassigned to another judge. So I kind of dread it, but I'm kind of like you, I guess, thinking that you've kind of convinced me that she may be enjoying sending the stuff back to Andy and said, "Hey, what are you going to do now? You're going to deny another one, another?" And I've got an affidavit in my hand that's stating we've got another Brady. With evidence was withheld. We know for a fact that Manitowoc withheld calls. Rookie got those calls from November 3rd to November 12th. Nothing for the 4th. Are you kidding me? Mm-hmm. Not one call in the midst of us looking for Teresa.
Yeah. I don't know. Did I ask you about your thoughts on the Keep Talking Till They're Walking event?
I really enjoyed it. I didn't get to watch every bit of it, but I watched a lot of it. I did have to take a couple of breaks, but for the most part, I tried to just follow it from all the way through, and I thought it came off really well. I know it was a difficult thing to get organized, and even in the best of organizations, there's always a hitch or two. But to me, it seemed like it went off really well. I mean, I didn't. And then of course the Ripper, he comes on and think he's going to be on for an hour or so, and then he's on for 7 hours. Are you kidding me? That was great. It really was.
I mean, I just as I've said so many times before, it's like if you're playing in a band, you can try and show off by being the one that's the lead guitarist that does everything, right. and you're just surrounded by a bunch of other people that just play along with you. But what if you surround yourself by the very best of the very best? And,
that's right.
and to be honest, I mean, I thought we had some absolutely brilliant. We have got some brilliant people in this community, and it would take too long to list them all. But I'm just still smiling about the event because it went incredibly well. And when you think about people like I'm going to give a big huge shout out. You've already mentioned them. Tracy Strunsey and Dr. Siltman. Just a whole presentation by themselves, and it's just absolutely brilliant.
We had talked about at Foul Play about what we were going to do, and coming up with he had suggested that idea of doing that presentation about Deputy Catch, and we all thought it was great, and it came out really, really well. I thought it did. And what they did to her it's just revolting. It's really, I have no other words but to say, I'm from here. It was revolting what they did to her. And not only that, what they did to her in court was so embarrassing. I don't blame her for quitting. I don't blame her at all.
Well, what I would say is that not only did the monkey on the organ, that's me, but also the monkey grinder, that's Mark, holding it, truly appreciated what Dr. Silkman did in that presentation. And yes, I'm sure that that the rest of the foul play got together and talked about it, because it's as you said earlier, there's so many different opinions. But when it comes to Deborah Kakach, it's like Jerry Butin says in his book. When she was excluded, it was like Manitowoc County had finally found somebody who they could exclude from the salvage yard as being a conflict of interest, except for the fact that she had no conflict of interest. Why was she being denied access? It's just,
and at the time they had Manitowoc officers walking around on the property when she was denied access. Is absolutely mind-bending. How they did that. And what's even worse is they did it in open court. That makes it so much worse. And it was just, you think about this case, Paulie, and you think about what happened, and it was only allowed to happen. We can say whatever we want about Ken Kratz, and we have, and we'll continue to do so. But without support, there is no way that case happens if he did not have extreme help from the outside. That press conference, get out of here. That, and probably 49 other states, and maybe even in Wisconsin, under different circumstances, he would have been in serious trouble for that.
It's Ken Kratz is a whole different sort of topic, isn't it? It's
we could talk about for days about that. Talking about this progression of what I've done throughout the time, and I don't want to horn in on what you were going to say, but just to continue a little bit further. I was approached many times in the past about doing things, and but similar things to this, and I just didn't do it, and I didn't. But as time went on, I have to tell you that Linda Kay, she worked on me pretty hard, and she convinced me to come on, but Jamie, a license plate guy, SWH582, he worked on me pretty hard about getting on the first Mammothon, because I was actually had made a post on Reddit about the spare tire cover. That was another reason I brought it up. He was the one that really got me to do it, and so I talked to him, and then I talked to Richard a little bit, and prior to the show, and that's really kind of where I ever first did any kind of audio thing. And but moving on past that, I eventually got involved with foul play, and I had a head full of ideas and a head full of things that I wanted to do by that time. And one of the things that I really wanted to do was to memorialize Brendan Stevens' trial, his pre-trial. Can't really do all the motions, but we did the motion hearings, his trial. We haven't done any of the post-trial yet. We're going to. And then doing Brendan's pre-trial, and we're right now in the process of recording Brendan's trial, and then we're going to do some of the post-trial stuff. But if anybody really wants to understand the depths of how dastardly this went, read Brendan's trial, day one of Kratz direct on what Tom Fassbender, and that will tell you all you need to know. It's terrible. It's absolutely terrible.
You've got, like, leading up to the trial and the trial itself, and it's almost like you've got all these bad actors that did all the framing, and then you've got these prosecutors that they know, they can surely see that they are not that stupid that they can't see that this is a wrong, these are two wrongful convictions, and yet they're still happy to perpetrate this.
Absolutely.
I don't think that Tom Fallon, Norm Gann, and Ken Kratz are responsible for the disappearance of Teresa Holbach. I'm pretty sure they're not. But the way that they've conducted their side of things, given what went on before, it's just all compasses point north. As the dude would often say,
That's exactly right.
It's appalling. But hopefully we've got something to look forward to in the case. I'm with you. I think 30 days. Why can't we hope that it'll be decided that quickly? I mean, is that kind of like the average 30 days? I believe so.
I can't necessarily say that, but the thing is with this one, Paul, it's not exactly like the last one. This one's a little bit more involved because this is a pretty big thing. So they may want to take more time to consider this affidavit, that Sowinski signed. I don't know how much more they really would have to consider after 30 days. Yeah. And one more thing to add to it, I don't know how much COVID could delay that process a little bit more. It could be 6 weeks. Some of the people we were talking on Rippers the other night, some were guessing 6 weeks, even out to maybe even 90 days, maybe even fall time.
Yeah.
So, and it could go that long. Yeah, it could go that long, I guess. But I'm hopeful for 30 days. I don't know what more they would really need to consider because they can't. They don't really decide. I think certain things. I can't remember the exact wording legal wise, but they only look at what's been presented to them. They can't. I'm not a loss for words, but it would have to go back to Judge Flowers, Judge Angie, to be hashed out. They can't do that. The Court of Appeals can't. So
yeah. I mean, my big hope is that once this all comes back to the Court of Appeals, and unless Super Rich decides to have an evidentiary hearing, which I feel that the pressure is on her, but I suspect she will probably deny again because at the moment we're looking for somebody to break, and you just don't know where that break is going to be in the case. But going forward, when eventually it all gets sorted out, people are going to look back at Judge Angie and they're going to ask the question, were you a judge or were you a district attorney?
That's right.
It's just so bizarre the way she's behaved in all of this. That's why I think that as I say, Kathleen is quite happy to send it back again, as she said, to keep knocking on that door until they open the door and then they're willing to listen.
I thought it was quite something that she when Kathleen filed that, it was a really brief thing that she filed originally. She didn't really provide much of any information, and then the state comes out, arms flailing, and they're all over the damn place. It's like and so she comes back and says, and she answers them directly. People say, "Oh, you can't answer. You can't file that." She answers specific charges that they made. So she can do it too. I'm sorry.
and then she patronizes them by saying, "Oh, excuse me, am I allowed to answer their request? Am I allowed to answer them?" It's like,
exactly.
Is she taking the mick or what?
It's it would be. I'm leery like you that Judge Flowers will again deny. She'll come up with some fantastical, inexplicable reason why she will not allow a hearing. And that's really, if she does, it's really going to put them in a really seriously bad light because this stuff needs to be explored. They need to investigate now.
Yeah.
So
yeah. She's just going to go down in history as one of the worst judges of all.
Oh yeah.
Her and Fox and Willis, they're just going to. It's. Do you know? I was saying to this I think I was saying to this Alice, last night. It's like sometimes when you explain this case in a very brief way, with the utmost of brevity, you end up laughing about it because it's so
You do.
comical. It's
It,
it's so
it's
stupid.
it is. It's absolutely. You have to laugh at it because
Yeah,
we there's so many aspects of this case. You look at it, and it is comical to think,
yeah.
wow, wow, really, Mr. Coburn, you shook the hell out of that of a 2x3 record cabinet, and a key flies out of it that no one else saw. Really, it just some of these things are just completely ridiculous. So, I agree with you. It is.
And yet when you sort of explain it a bit deeper, there are some aspects you could explain the case in such a way that you could definitely make a case for Stephen being guilty. The bones, the cremains found in his burn pit, his blood found in the car, and the key found in his bedroom, and it's like you've got other people that are quite happy to go with that and run with that, and they just don't like Steve because he's this guy from a salvage yard.
That's right.
Um, we don't like him. He looks dodgy. I mean, that was one of the things I was gonna go back to this Thomas Sawinski. I'm not sure about this statement of his that I could tell Bobby was up to something by the look in his eyes. I don't buy that. It's always troubled me, that one. We had Jim LeBray saying I could tell Steve was guilty by the look in his eyes.
Yeah.
I would be very careful about pushing that sort of narrative that somehow people look guilty. Yeah,
Yeah,
I,
that's
I don't I don't I don't buy that. It's
I
it's
would
it's
agree with you.
unfortunate. Yeah.
Yeah, and not to pile. They shouldn't pile on like that. I agree with you.
Yeah, but then that's Thomas Sawinski saying that, isn't it? That's his words. It's not
That's right.
it's not Steve's or it's not Kathleen Zellner's. It's just his affidavit. That's what he wanted to say, and put across his sense of what he felt at the time. But
I'm
that's
hoping that Kathleen is able, if she hasn't, I'm sure she
yeah.
probably is trying, but I'm hoping that she can reach back to whatever phone provider he had at the time and get records.
Yeah, that would be awesome, wouldn't it? I mean, we've got these tire tracks that. Well, I mean, if that's a few hours later, they certainly look like a car's gone down in that dip and come back up again,
Yep.
doesn't it?
That's right.
Just
It
as
does.
he said.
That's right.
Yeah. Anyway, I realise I've kept you far longer than I intended. That's
That's
over
okay.
an hour. Over an hour. The time has absolutely flown past. It's been absolutely brilliant chatting with you.
Really appreciate you inviting me on. I do appreciate it.
Not at all. I think, like I've said to others, it's just great the support of the community. I really appreciate it. It was something that the dude absolutely enjoyed it. He loved talking about the fact every time he went somewhere, it was, I'm going to do a live from here. I'm going to do a live from here. I'm going to keep everybody informed about this and keep. It's like, dude, can you not just relax and enjoy it? No, I've got to go live. I've got,
Yeah.
we did a live from Mark's house the first night we were there. And then the next day, we're down in Sydney, and we've only just arrived at our apartments. And before I can even get a beer in the bar next door, he's setting up his laptop to do another live. Dude, come on! We're here in Australia, and you're doing a live. So that was me being the conveyor belt from the bar to the kitchen
Right.
where he was doing his live.
Just chill for a minute there, Rich, and just crack a beer and let's talk a minute before you go live.
Yeah,
I get it. Oh
yeah.
He was he was
Yeah.
he was very passionate about it. You could tell that.
Yeah.
Even in we didn't know nearly as much then, of course. Back in the way back in the beginning, but you could tell he was really it dug into him like it has so many of us. It had its teeth in him, and he was not going to let it go. It's like these other cases too, Daniel's, and I don't want to keep people here for forever, but Daniel's case, Melissa's case, so many of these other ones that we know are wrong, and this need for change. this advocacy. So I agree. I'm right there with you, man.
Look who's just popped in onto the chat. Look who's just poked his head up. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. Eh?
I see Graham, Paul, Bob, Linda. Oh, there's Mark. Mark Allnut.
I'm gonna you know what, I'm gonna get a text later tonight. Paul, could you check in the headmaster's office, please?
Get called to the principal's office. I understand that.
and the best of it is he was right when he said, "Are you used to that?" Yes, I was used to that. I was used to that at school. Yes, I was always.
I never got called too many times, but I did a few. I did.
Yeah. The best of it was you had to make sure that if you did get any kind of admonishment by the school, at least you made sure your parents didn't know about it. That was the main thing for me.
You're right. You're right about that, because you're going to get it again.
Exactly. Only worse.
Only worse. Absolutely.
Yeah. Listen, many thanks for taking the time out to come and join us for a chat. It's been absolutely brilliant.
Anytime, Paul.
Well, I do appreciate it. I mean, one of the things that I was going to say was I don't, as I say, I don't think I've had a chat with you before. Whether it be via some sort of message, but I don't think so. And it just amazes me that the amount of people that are following this case that really do have this passion for it. It's I suppose it's a bit like I was saying to somebody the other day. You can't kind of do you can't really do this case half-hearted, can you? You have to go all in. You have to invest a certain amount into this. Because it just bugs us.
If you truly want to understand it, because the cases are so complicated and they're so joined, you can't do you can tell people a little bit about it and they don't really get it.
Yep.
To really get involved, you got to get past the hip waders and going into it to truly understand what's going on. I agree. But I think that this keep talking till they're walking is a great initiative, because we've seen it. It's already happened. We've hit lull points, and we talk about things that we've already talked about. But here's the thing: we always have new people coming on, and I've been told this before. Well, we've already talked about that. Why are you repeating this? Well, because we got new people coming. Come in and join the conversation and help add to that, educate people, and tell them what's going on. Tell them what's happened, because they don't know.
Yep.
We have to keep talking about it. I think it's important, even if we're repeating ourselves, until we get something new. So,
there's a lot of rivalry in the borders, between the borders towns, but particularly between Galashiels and Hawick. And a good friend of mine organises, when we're not in COVID, he organises a men's only breakfast on the day of the gala day. This is the big day in Galashiels, right? And you get 300 blokes. It's a blokes only event. I'm sorry that we still have these sort of things as they do in other towns in the borders. And these 300 blokes go to this big hall here in Galashiels for a breakfast. It starts at 6:00. You're drinking beer from 6:00 in the morning.
Oh my!
Yep, and the organizer regularly tells this joke about the fact that, and he's a well-known rugby player, played for Scotland, but also a stalwart of Galashiels.
Right.
And he was driving through Hawick, and he had to take a leak, so he visits the loos in Hawick. And as he's taking a leak, this Hawick guy comes in. And he says, "Oh, it's you. Are you going to tell us that joke about the Hawick man then?" He says, "Nah." And then his brother comes in. "Oi, you're going to tell us the joke about the Hawick man?" "Nah." Then the third guy comes in, an even bigger, older brother. You know, you're going to tell us the joke about the hook man? And he says, nah. He says, how not? And he says, well, because I don't want to explain the joke 3 times. You know, it's like you know,
Yeah, exactly.
There's nothing wrong with presenting it time and time and time again, so that the
I agree.
guilters get it. You know,
I agree.
the
I agree.
guilters need to be told this time and time again, and we need to keep hammering on at this, because don't you worry, there are guilters out there still who think that somehow that Stephen Avery, you know, was quite happy to give up everything that he was looking forward to. And according to Brendan Dass's confession, one of the, you know, they asked him, you know, well, why did Steve do it? And I'm sure you know Brendan's response was that because he wanted to go back to jail.
Right. Absolutely. It's insane.
You know, and you know, it's like, come on, guilters. It's time you woke up. You know, you're like the hook people. You know, do we have to? We're not going to explain. If we have to, we will explain it to you 3 times,
or 4 or 5.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
I agree.
We are going to keep talking till they're walking, and that's the other thing. You know, if they think that early on, certainly with the dude, we used to get all sorts of offensive messages. You know, questioning us, questioning our families, questioning our background, questioning everything about us. You know, how our studio looked, and you know how we looked, and all that kind of stuff.
Bad stuff in your live chat. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and it's like well done, guilters. You have achieved exactly what you wanted to achieve. Not. You've achieved just the opposite.
That's right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I've been called on Reddit. I've been called everything under the sun.
Yeah.
Private messages. That's stuff that I wouldn't repeat, on air, but you know what I'm saying. I didn't.
Oh yeah.
I mean, for you guys, it's even worse because there's this audience on YouTube and various social media. It's even worse.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's I must say, it's one of the things I do laugh about is the fact that, because me and the dude used to insult each other so much. It's like anything you guilters can come up with is only half what we used to exchange. And it just makes you really thick-skinned. I suppose that was the big thing about the Captain Crunch argument, and everything else. It was just it's just so funny. Anyway,
that was another thing. One last thing before we go.
Yeah.
One last thing I do remember about the dude, Eric Ozzie, and I know that this wasn't 100% of the time, but you could count on pretty much at all times. He was classy. He wouldn't allow people to trash, other people. He just wouldn't tolerate it. He didn't want to talk about it. Stay on the high road. And that was something that, for him being a new YouTuber, come on, this guy never done this stuff before. And he's getting all these terrible messages. I know he was. I see it in chat, and he wouldn't do it. And you got to give the man a lot of credit for that. That takes some thick hide to tolerate what he was trying to do, and then all this pressure he was getting from. Oh my gosh, I really don't know. And I guess I could do it, but I think that way is the correct way. It's the correct way. Stay on the high road.
Do you know? It was only when he passed away that I realized that his girlfriend was one of the commenters in support. Yeah. Yep. If you look way back, and I think Shaken but Not Stirred was went by the name of White Wave, but yeah, I mean, I would love to get Shaken but Not Stirred on for a chat at some point, and I'm sure we will at some point, because I'm sure that she will be able to enlighten us even further. But I appreciate that it's difficult for her. I do appreciate that. It's. But anyway, I'm going to shut up, Jack, and let you close the show, as in whatever way you feel fit. I would just like to say thank you very much for joining me, and it's over to you.
Thank you very much, Paul. Again, I want to thank you for inviting me. I'm just a regular guy that's stuck his head in this case and tried to stay with it. My appreciation extends out to all the people out there that are helping in whatever fashion that is. It doesn't matter. Keep talking about it. Keep trying to get FOIAs. Try to get information. Nothing. We understand that there's not going to be probably anything groundbreaking that we're going to get. It's just another piece of the puzzle. We understand that. In it for the long term. Thanks to all of you.